Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wee Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who podcast. I am one of your hosts, Cameron, and I'm here with my co-host, Ben. How are you doing today, Ben?
Pretty good.
Today, we're going to be doing the second serial of season 9 of classic Doctor Who, which is The Curse of Peladon. To get right into the credits for the episode, The Curse of Peladon was directed by Lenny Mayne. Letty Mayne also did the episodes The Three Doctors, The Monster of Peladon, and The Hand of Fate. Did not do any stories before this. This was his first Doctor Who episode. Written by Brian Hales. He was one of the writers on The Celestial Tourmaker, but pretty famously, the big thing is that he's the creator of The Ice Warriors. So he wrote The Ice Warriors, and then he was one of the writers on The Seeds of Death, and wrote this episode, and then goes on to write The Monster of Peladon. Your general thoughts on The Ice Warriors and The Seeds of Death, Ben? What did you think of those stories?
They're okay. I liked the Seeds of Death better. The Ice Warriors as a species, I suppose, are interesting. Seeds of Death, we see a little bit more of them than we do in the Ice Warriors. I feel a little bit more of how they're organized. Yeah. Seeds of Death would be the better of the two, I think, but they're both decent.
The T-Mat machine, Ben. The T-Mat machine.
I remember.
I would say pretty similar statements of I think the Ice Warriors is they're a great concept for a Doctor Who villain. I love the design of them.
Oh yeah.
I think the Ice Warriors, the strongest thing about them is the idea of the Ice Warriors, but it kind of is one of those stereotypical not Pertwee, Troughton episodes where it's just a base under siege story that goes a little bit too long and is kind of boring in moments. And then the Seeds of Death, there's a lot of great stuff in there. In particular, I remember liking like the last two pots, and I thought that like the middle of it was kind of very slow. It's going to be a repeating theme in classic Doctor Who. You can say that about almost every classic Doctor Who story.
Good beginning, good end, slow in the middle.
Especially with that one. The Seeds of Death, if I remember correctly, I think Troughton just goes on vacation for one of the episodes, so he's just not in it. But like there's some great Troughton stuff in that episode. So to just get into some of the facts about the episode, it was broadcast on January 29th, 1972 through February 19th of 1972. There is actually an interesting thing about the ratings for this episode. So the ratings for the episode were pretty good for the first two pots, but then go down in pot 3. And the reason for this was that there was a national power cut from a coal miner strike. So this basically, because there was like people had no power to watch TV, they couldn't watch it. So it went from 11 million for episode 2 all the way down to 7.8 million for episode 3. More fun facts. This is the only series to feature the Ice Warriors that do not consist of 6 potters in the classic show. There are 4 sequels to this story. One in television form, which we'll see in 2 seasons from now in The Monster of Peladon. There's a audio play called The Prisoners of Peladon. And then there is also a novel called Legacy that's in the version New Adventures line. Some more interesting facts. David Troughton plays the king in this episode. Did you know that David Troughton is the son of Patrick Troughton, Ben?
I did not know that. Who did you say he plays?
The king.
Oh, Peladon of Peladon?
Yes. He also was just like a god and enemy of the world, and then he was a character in the War Games. But this was like his big role in classic Doctor Who. He actually goes on to be in New Who for a episode, one of the best episodes of New Who, Midnight, where he is awesome in. Another fun fact is that Katie Manning and David Troughton got along very well this story. So there is rumors that they started dating during the filming. But Manning said that they both wanted to convert their friendship into a romance, but neither of them had the courage to do so. So one of those things that the rumor is that they did start dating, but then Manning says no. Who knows? What is the truth? This is the first serial since the Space Pirates, Ben, not to require any outdoor filming. This was because it was filmed in the winter, and Barry Letts was like, I don't want to deal with the winter weather. So yeah, that's all going to be for the fun facts. This week, we're not going to be talking about any action figures. I'm not going to have you guess any action figures this week because there sadly is no action figures.
Action figure?
There's no, like Alpha Centauri is the big one that would have been a cool one also.
Or Arcturus.
But there is only like there is Ice Warriors, which you can kind of say that it's from the story, but it's just basic Ice Warriors.
I mean, they only have a couple different designs.
Yeah.
Like they look pretty much identical as they did in Seeds of Death, just in color.
Yeah, and like that the good looking ones from the Ice Warriors, not the shitty ones in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ben, do you have a question to quiz me?
Sure. So why did the Ambassadors of Death kidnap 3 astronauts from Earth and arrive on Earth in their spaceship?
Okay, let me think. Let me think. Because like I think it was because they probably I if I remember correctly, well I don't remember at all, which is why I'm gonna try to make this up because I should remember this because we just watched it a couple of weeks ago. Was it just because they were they feeling threatened that the astronauts were going up to near Mars or to Mars, or is that not it, or is there another explanation for this, Ben?
Yeah. Well, no. It's because General Carrington tricked them into believing that they would be welcomed as ambassadors. So presumably it was like a mutual exchange of ambassadors or something, but it went wrong.
Did you remember this, Ben?
I know why they went to Earth. It even in the answer to this, it doesn't really say why they kidnapped the astronauts.
No.
I guess my other question for you then is who succeeded to the throne of Peladon after the death of King Peladon?
Is this not the fucking is this not for Monster Peladon?
Oh shit. No, yep, you're right. Hold on.
I'm like, I don't remember King Peladon dying in this Alice, I rarely did to pay attention this week.
Okay, which high priest of Peladon and advisor to the king joined forces with Arcturus in an attempt to prevent Peladon from becoming a member of the Galactic Federation?
It's it's not, he starts with an H. I'm bad with fucking names, Ben. This is the problem that I would have to have a
They say
thing
it
pulled
like
up.
20 times.
Harash or something like that. I'm terrible with names, son.
Hepesh.
Hapesh. So Ben,
Yes.
what did you think of the Curse of Peladon?
I thought it was actually pretty good. 4 parts, I think this would not have worked as 6 parts. 4 parts is a good fit for it. I really liked all the different creatures, or not creatures, but all the different kinds of aliens. I think it's a good twist that, you think that the Ice Warriors are behind it all, but really it's Hepesh. And it kind of gives some good characterization to the Ice Warriors, not just as invaders, but as a kind of noble race. All the delegates have really interesting designs and interesting characters. I think that's the strongest part. What do you think?
I think that generally, I would say big picture, I do not like this story as much as I think other fans do. I have heard that basically I've heard good things about this story, and I would just say the story is average to fine. I did not love it. I thought that the story was boring in a lot majority of it.
Really?
I didn't think that the mystery of the political mystery worked enough for me as a viewer. I think that the strong aspects of this story is the world of Peladon and the world of the Galactic Federation, and that whole idea of like this world having to join this bigger force. I think that is a great premise for a story and having that political mystery in it. I think that the use of the Ice Warriors, like you said, it's a great use of having us have that already prejudgment that these are going to be the bad guys, but of course they're not. They're the good guys. And that they've changed. So we just met like a renegade group. But yeah, I just think that like overall, for majority of it, except for I would say the first part and the last part, I just kind of was just going with it. I wasn't really intrigued with what the story was presenting me, and I was just kind of bored by it. What like how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I probably some of the politics weren't awesome. I think to me the characters it's just interesting enough and that the characters kind of make up for the shortcomings. They're all very different and interesting. Joe gets to dress up and pretend to be a princess. Hepesh is an interesting villain, and Peladon is an interesting foil. And the overall kind of themes of like tradition versus progress, I think is good.
Oh yeah, like I would say that like that idea is a great idea, especially when you have it contrasted with the events that was going on. I don't know how much you read about this. That this was heavily, not heavily, because we really don't know at the end of the day. But at the same time of this was going out, was the British were deciding on whether or not to join the EU, the European Union.
Hmm.
And you can definitely like when you see that hear that parallel, you're like, oh yeah, they had to have been somewhat
Oh,
influenced by that
oh yeah,
news going
100%.
on. And you kind of go like, it's so shocking to me that they didn't do one for Brexit for a Peladon story now.
Hmm.
For in terms of like maybe a Peladon wanting to leave the Galactic Federation, and it would have. I think that could have been an interesting story for them to do.
Did BBC take a public stance on Brexit?
I don't think they're allowed to. I think they have to be just in the middle. Like they're just like that. But like, I think that that's the problem with the BBC is like, or and like any type of organization like that, they're always going to take a side. You know, nothing can be both parties. You know, nothing can be just like
Yeah.
factual. Everything's gonna have some bias. But yeah, like this story, I would say for me, the Joe and the King Peladon stuff doesn't really work for me.
No, that was weird. And she definitely thought it was weird too, but at the end, she's like, "Oh, I do actually love you." Doesn't work.
And like I don't know, the set design isn't really interesting to me because it's just a lot of dimly lit corridors of like basically them trying to do like a castle-ish thing.
Yeah. The model stuff outside is cool though.
It is. And like I have to give them some shout out that like it's not like a lot of classic Doctor Who is overly lit. This is not an overly lit story. And something that I would also say about this is that I think that the location of Peladon it's definitely a much more interesting location than Colony in Space.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
That I would imagine watching it at the time, this would have been so refreshing to have a non-modern Earth story slash just not a story that's set in a quarry,
Yeah.
and have it be about these alien worlds that we cannot really comprehend. Well, I shouldn't even say that, but like something that is out of the ordinary, you know.
Mhm.
And especially as you can imagine, there's probably some kids that must have been blown away by this because the Doctor Who to them was just Earth-based stuff, and then you had Colony in Space, which wasn't really that much of a departure from our version of Earth.
No, this is definitely much more alien.
Yeah, which I have to give it a credit for.
Yeah.
And then even like you said, like the side characters are very much like they're not like kind of human. Like no, Alpha Centauri and the what was the other one?
Arcturus,
Arcturus. Like those are like
guy who's like in a little bubble of green goo.
they are like those are like aliens.
Yes.
And the even the Ice Warriors are very much like from another planet. And like I think that it's a great idea for them to have them all be green.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. Good contrast with like all the
Yeah.
browns and yellows of Peladon and its people.
Yeah, and just a visual like grouping of them all. I would say that like I think the Ice Warriors in this story look fantastic in color.
Yeah.
Like their greens really pop. I would say though, I know this might be a little bit controversial, but I think the what is it? Is it the general, the Ice Warrior general? That's what the guy is, right? Like the leader of the Ice Warriors. The general, right?
I don't really remember the Ice Warrior hierarchy.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think that costume doesn't really hold up as well in color. I think it looks kind of cheap.
Yeah,
It looked better in the Seeds of Death in black and white. But I think the Ice Warriors, like that still looks great. And then what else? What else is there to talk about, man? Do you have anything else?
to talk about. What about Agador, the creature in the caves that the doctor hypnotizes and sings a Venusian lullaby to? That was delightful.
Something that I was just thinking of was at the end when he's coming over to see the doctor. I was just thinking, oh, that's a man in a suit, and that was so funny to me.
I, I had the exact same thought. That's not a dog. That's just a man.
And just like I was just like, oh, poor John. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Let's see who is in there. Nick Hobbs. Poor guy.
It's like I think the scenes of when he's trying to like hypnotize him. It is good, but yeah, it's a fine creature design in my opinion. Except for like I said, the last moment you go, oh no, that's definitely a man in a suit walking away.
Mhm.
What did you think of Alpha Centauri, Ben?
Slightly obnoxious voice, but in a interesting way. I don't really have any other thoughts about her or them.
I like the suit, and I like the visuals.
Yeah,
The voice, like you said, it's kind of charming, but kind of annoying and headache inducing. Octus,
I thought that was a really cool effect.
it was. It's a good little boy. It's a good little boy. And then we have, of course, like we mentioned before, we have the Ice Warriors, and that is the Galactic Federation. What did you think of like the Galactic Federation overall, then? What do you think of that concept?
Makes sense. Some kind of union in the future. Do they pop up a lot?
No, it's just the next story. Well, like I mean the monster Peladon. At least I assume. The Ice Warriors Iron Monster Peladon. So yeah, the Galactic Federation must be there. But yeah, like there's not I think a lot like to say about this episode, in my opinion. Like I just thought it was it's 4 episodes that go by, and
Yeah,
I think it's
they
kind
were
of
fun though. I
it.
thought.
I think that,
In my opinion,
it was just very average. um, so, should we move on to cliffhangers, or do you have anything else to say, Ben?
it doesn't. It's kind of a little bit off topic, but what are your thoughts on the Doctor, just in general?
See, I
I'd
think
say at this point we're pretty close to halfway through his
yeah,
whole run, which is actually it's 24 episodes. This is 11, so pretty close to halfway.
I would say that watching it like this in order, I would say that I I think I liked Pertwee a little bit less than I would have said going after like before doing this. I think that he's definitely not one of my favorite doctors. I think I'm more like the doctor a little bit less confident. Pertwee is definitely a leading man in Cap's doctor.
Yes.
I think I much more prefer the doctor when he's a little bit more of a bubbling idiot and is kind of more cosmic hobo and a little bit more like you don't know if he is doing this as an actor, if he's doing this as or if he really is just this.
Yeah. We said that exact same thing. I forget. Was it last episode?
Or it could just be one of our conversations.
It could have been just our conversation. I guess we'll see as we're editing these. But yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm quite fond of him at this point. He's definitely more of an action hero than either of the other doctors was.
Yeah.
Which for what at this point he'd be 52? I think he was 50 when he started. It's kind of surprising considering his age. Doing a lot of like Venusian Aikido and bike chases and car chases and
Even in this story, he's like he has that like hand-to-hand combat of trial by combat.
oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. It's like 5 minutes with no music and just him beating the shit out of the guy.
And then the last story we had like the whatever that tricycle motorcycle chase was. And like we talked about the death of the Orgrons, and like he's been on motorcycles and the demons and the car chases and like Inferno. Very much the James Bond-esque Doctor in that
Yeah,
way.
I would definitely say so.
But then kind of contradicts that with being kind of a little bit more Buddhist. And that's kind of like the Barry Letts influence of the Buddhism of the Doctor.
The Buddhism of the Doctor?
Like yeah, like the way that he'll do, like he has the non-combat like he has like what you said earlier, the what did you say, the karate that he does that doesn't hurt.
Venusian Aikido.
Yeah,
Or he said karate. I think he said both.
like stuff like that. But doing stuff that like non-lethal versions of attacking someone.
Yeah.
But then he contradicts that with just by shooting someone. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like there's a lot of things about the Third Doctor that is solely the Third Doctor. Like we don't have like no other Doctor has that much hero actics except for maybe 10. There's a lot of Third Doctor in 10, which makes sense because that's like the eras of the show that someone like David Tennant or even someone like Russell would have watched.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of other Doctors, especially in the classic show, that's like John Pertwee. I would say there's a lot more Doctors after this that I will cite, like Patrick Troughton as the actor that they base their Doctor off of, and there's not a lot of people that say, "Oh yeah, John Pertwee is what I look towards as the Doctor inspiration." Except for Ncuti Gatwa being one of the rare ones saying that the way that the Third Doctor dresses was a big influence on his Doctor, which makes sense.
Oh yeah.
when you look at Ncuti and how much how much he changes costumes with every episode, and John did something similar that he always has a new costume on.
Does no one cite the Fourth Doctor as their influence, or is that just kind of given?
That's just kind of given. They like I like a lot like I would say like David Tennant has, and Peter never said any particular Doctor, but I like Peter. I would imagine would have just been like any of the seven, like John Pertwee or Tom Baker. But yeah, he's definitely not one of my favorites, but he's definitely not one of my least favorites. I think he's a very average Doctor in my Doctor rankings now.
Mm-hmm.
As a Doctor Who fan, you can really judge an era based off of the bad stories in a Doctor's run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of other Doctors that have worse stories than Pertwee. I feel like in general, there's a lot of John Pertwee's run as the Doctor, even so far, has been very consistent. There's not like a lot of Doctor Who. There's not a lot of episodes where both been like, "Oh my god, this is the worst thing we have ever watched."
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much everything has been that we've rated is a 7 out of 10 or higher, barring Colony in Space. And I didn't really like Claws of Axos.
And I didn't like Mind of Evil. And then this one I think is similar to me.
Yeah, it's for me, he's definitely I quite like him. I think I still like Patrick Troughton more, but he's pretty close for me. Sure that will change as I know more than just the first 3 Doctors, but
We've now seen enough of Jo. What do you think of Jo as a companion overall, Ben?
she's good. I like her. I was definitely on the fence about her in Terror, but she's grown on me a lot. I thought she was gonna get in the way a lot more, but no, she's a good complement to the Doctor.
It's one of those pairings that the show does that's like, I don't know if Katie would work so well with another Doctor,
Yeah.
but her and John are just like they have such great chemistry together, and that companion in Doctor relationship works so well together.
Definitely.
That you just cannot help but want to watch another episode with them together. And they have a very much a father-daughter type of relationship that is very fun to watch.
How old is Joe supposed to be?
Oh, I assume like early 20s.
I guess that makes sense.
That's how old Katie would have been. She would have been like early 20s, maybe mid 20s. Which again, now it's just so weird. Like nowadays, there would be some type of romance relationship in there.
It's still weird to me, the idea of a doctor being romantic. Maybe it's because they're all like really old or something, and their companions are all very young.
See, we're gonna get there. Where we have the TV movie, Ben, and then we have Rose.
Yeah, that's mostly a New Who thing. Like, there's some Rose romance, some Donna romance.
No, there's no Donna romance.
No?
Nah,
Aren't David Tennant and Donna like a thing?
no.
I thought I got spoiled. Didn't they like settle down together at the end of the anniversary special?
Yes, but like very much like he is he's like the uncle.
It's a purely platonic relationship.
Oh yeah, 1000%. That's one of the
Okay.
best things about that companion relationship is that, because like not to get too much into spoilers, but Martha is very much like she's in love with the doctor, but the doctor really is in love with her. But then they get to Donna, and then Donna's like fucking not into him at all, and it's just the two friends just being goofballs, and it's a great change in the show's dynamic at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course there's River Song.
Yes.
But yeah, we've talked enough about outside of Curse of Peladon. Someone's watching this and it's like I tuned in to listen to them talk about Curse of Peladon, and they're just talking about Donna Noble.
We got to get up to the 40-minute mark somehow.
Okay, so cliffhangers wise, number 1, the statue falls. That's all I have for my notes, Ben.
Yes.
Number 2, Doctor has a charge of death from going to like the caves
For defiling the temple of Agador because he
Alright.
like tried to touch the statue.
And then for part 3, the Doctor refuses to kill the guy in trial of combat, and then like
Brum.
and then like there's just a bunch of like gunshots, and it's like and then it just ends.
Yeah. Arcturus is about to shoot the Doctor. Then the Ice Warrior shoots. Maybe also the Doctor. Who knows?
See, I didn't get that. I just got like it was gunshots and just it was just over. Maybe I wasn't paying attention or something, but I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck just happened?"
Yeah.
It took the next episode for me to go, "Okay, so that's what they were applying." Did you have that same thing?
I was. I'm not sure actually. I watched them like back to back. I don't know.
I was just like,
If I had a question, it was answered within 30 seconds, and it didn't really register for me.
I took a break in between, so I did feel that. And then the fourth one, it has I love the little embed of the actual
Yeah.
American ambassador coming, and then they go off and run in the TARDIS. I think that's a great little endnote.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, which we don't get enough in the classic show. We get that there's a point in the new show. I've been rewatching some of the 11th Doctor recently, and like that era of the show is so obsessed with saying Doctor Who. But the classic show really doesn't do that much.
It's probably like no more than 5 times total so far, and 2 of them are like actually saying the name Doctor Who.
But yeah, best cliffhanger, Ben.
Probably the 3rd one.
See, I was confused by the 3rd one, so I'm gonna say the first one. I just it's a solid first pot. Oh, the statue fell.
Ah.
So now, Ben, it's time for the rankings.
I am gonna say it's like an 8.1 for me.
That's high. I'm just gonna look at the previous scores. Do I like this more than Doctor Who and the Silurians? No. Do I like this more than Ambassadors of Death? Debatable. Do I like this more than The Mind of Evil? I like this a little bit more than The Mind of Evil, but I don't like it as much as Ambassadors of Death, which leaves me in a hard predicament because I rated them both the same rating.
Ambassadors of Death was when we were on a 0.5 or whole number score. I think starting with Inferno, we did more granular scores.
I'm just gonna give it a set. No, I'm gonna give it a 6.8. It was fine.
Mhm.
So now, Ben, it's time to see where it ranked in the full ratings.
Yes.
It was ranked number 12 in the recent poll, 14th in 2014, and then 12 in 2009, and then 13 in 1998. So basically had the same position of generally in the polls, which is a slight little like difference of 1 to 2 spots, but kind of this is in the middle of the road for the third Doctor. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which, to pull it up to compare, so like Day of the Daleks is higher than that, which I thought that I enjoyed Day of the Daleks more than this, but you didn't. You enjoyed this more than Day of the Daleks.
A little bit, yeah.
And then the Nine of Evil is one that's below it that you really liked more than the Curse of Peladon. Not really much. It was only 0.4 points, but still the overall consensus. But yeah, anything to say about the polls, Ben?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I think that's going to be the wrap up for the Curse of Peladon. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this podcast. Please remember that we have a TikTok and we have a Instagram and we have a YouTube where we post shorts. We also post this podcast in every podcast platform available, along with YouTube. This show is out every Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time. If you're British, I could not tell you. Just look it up. It's Eastern Standard Time.
5 p.m.
5 p.m.
That's a pretty good time.
Oh yeah, right after you eat your dinner and listen to some Wee Ood.
Or on the drive home.
Yeah, if you work on a Saturday, or maybe you did some errands. You're driving home after doing some errands on a Saturday. Well, like I thought that, and also this would be a good once we do catch up. Like this is with the latest version of it. Now that they're going to put Disney Plus out on a Friday night, we'll record on Friday night. Have this edited by noon on Saturday. Guess what? We're already there by the time that like 5 o'clock on that Saturday of Doctor Who. Like we have an episode posted already.
Mm-hmm.
You see my vision, Ben, in 5 years for season 19. Or no, it would be like season 5 by then. Who knows if Russ will even be in charge then? Probably we have a new Doctor by then, Ben.
The 16th Doctor. I was surprised I mean, I guess we can wrap the episode, but I was surprised that all of the new Who Doctors only do 3 seasons. They've never done more than that.
Yeah. I think it's a shame for like Matt Smith in particular. I think he needed another season to wrap up a lot of his like arcs.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a shame for Jodie because Jodie stayed on for like 5 years, but because of COVID, she only had the 3 seasons. And even Flux was like that. It was only 6 episodes.
Yeah.
But the question's gonna be with Jodie is he gonna do 3? Is he gonna do only 2? Who knows?
I mean, it's a new era. I could see him doing like 4 or 5.
But see that's the thing, and like I could imagine that he's gonna be busy,
Especially with only like 8 episodes a season.
but he could be a new star then. He might want to move on to be in movies and stuff.
I guess that's true. Anyway, join us next time when we will be reviewing The Sea Devils. Have a great day, everybody.
Peace out.